Texas, Kansas, and your Baylor Bears. One of those teams has to win this conference. Who is it going to be? This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. I am Drake Toll from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears, and that, with an entrance as grand as ever, is Robbie Triano, the Triano kid. Who can or cannot dunk a basketball?
Can't yet.
Can't yet.
Yeah.
And this is Locked On Baylor. Thank you for making it your first listen every single day. Robbie is with SiriusXM Big 12 Radio. Are you the host? How does that work?
So I'm the producer of that show, so I make all of my hosts sound really good while I do all the work behind the scenes and get the guests and stuff. And then I get no credit. But
Okay.
That's how it works behind the scenes.
So you don't really talk on the show? They wouldn't know you from the show.
I do chime on the show quite a few times. Usually I'm like the basketball guy now. So if they need someone they need the football guys to talk basketball, they'll bring me in. But really I just sit in the background and just wait for them to shut up.
Well, that's today. Today is basketball. You have your own basketball podcast now, I've heard as well. You want to plug that now? You can plug it now.
Yeah, the Midwest Madness podcast. I talk all things Big 12 hoops. We cover the entire league right now. It's a fun time. Follow us on Twitter at MW_Madness Big 12. So yeah, if you are done listening to this, come get your basketball feed with me. Basketball
food. Go eat.
Your basketball, yes.
Robbie, I saw a tweet yesterday. Also, I hope everybody had a good Valentine's Day. I took a psychology test and I bombed it. Did terrible. Apparently, there's all kinds of
Love that
stuff in your brain that does that I have no idea about. If I don't graduate because my psychology 1103 class, that'll be tragic. But I'm on track to not do that. I'm on track to not graduate now because of it. Robbie, so I'm lifting my spirits with this tweet that I saw yesterday that says that Robbie Triano, who has correctly chosen 2 Big 12 football champions mid-ish season, has Baylor men's basketball winning the Big 12 conference. So my first question when I saw this was, I wonder if Robbie has looked at Baylor's remaining schedule compared to Texas or Kansas. Robbie, since you are Robbie, the floor is yours. How much research went into this decision?
I actually did look at the schedules and stuff. And when I look at the league, there wasn't a team necessarily for a major part that above was just clear ahead of everybody else. It seemed like for a while there were 6 teams just kind of laying on top of each other. Yeah. No team was necessarily above the rest of them. And now that at this point of the year, we're seeing Iowa State fall off. We're seeing Kansas State fall off. TCU has had all these injuries. And you're right. There's 3 teams. It's Texas, it's Kansas, and for me, I think it's Baylor because what they do offensively, no one else in the league can do. Defensively, bad. But Jonathan Tchamwa, I'm saying that correctly, right?
Or yes, no? You are. We change it every week around here, but yes, that is the way we say it right now.
And I hate that every time someone says his name, they have to be like, did I say it right? Well, I did that. I'm sorry every day, John. But he brings something that the league doesn't necessarily have, and that is a competent big, really, and a big that can play defense and switch on a lot of different things. And I trust that by the end of the year, that they're going to be in a spot where they can win a lot of good games at the highest level because they have so many elite things on their team. And when you look at their remaining schedule, you have at Kansas. That's your next game. That's going to be really difficult. That's the hardest game left on your schedule. But then you play at Kansas State, who is a team that is right now just not finding things. They are just completely opposite of what we know from the beginning of the year. You're home for Texas. And I think that is the other hurdle that you have to face. You play at Oklahoma State right now, who is the hottest team in the entire Big 12 besides Baylor. They're absolutely rolling. And then you close with Iowa State that I think that's a team that I think Baylor can handle. So for me, I look at Baylor's road. It's not as difficult as their early part of the year, and they have the pieces right now to really claim another regular season title. And if you told me after game 3 of the conference slate, I would have said no way in hell. But they've somehow just survived everything and have just been so damn hot.
0-3. That's how I would describe you, by the way. Just good at everything and so damn hot. You should add that to your LinkedIn profile. The 0-3 start, 2 losses at home too. We were all right, ship sinking. This team's not elite, and I still think there are definitely holes here. Flo Thamba is maybe one of the worst starters in the Big 12 right now.
Agreed.
That's just like he's gonna fill that role because it's what he's always started. And then John comes off the bench and is really, really good at basketball. I'm not gonna get. I don't understand. It's not my job to understand. That's fine. The slate down the stretch here with Texas, which is a huge matchup, the Kansas game on the road. You've got to go 4-1 to win the Big 12, in my opinion. The sneaky team here too. We haven't mentioned this, Robbie. We haven't mentioned this. Oklahoma State and Kansas played last night. At the time of us recording this podcast, I have no idea what happened to that game in Stillwater. Neither do you. So this entire conversation could be moot if Oklahoma State wins and they're now tied for second in the conference with Kansas, or third, I guess, quasi. And that could change some stuff because their slate's not the toughest down the road. But here's what I don't understand. Why take this away from Texas? Because to me, it feels, despite the Texas Tech loss, it still feels squarely like this is Texas league to lose.
Really? You think Texas is the best in the league right now?
I don't know if I say best in the league, but their schedule's not terrible. Like they're in a really good schedule spot right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. I enjoy watching Texas. I'm not saying like you're very wrong, but like for me, Texas needs to find some more things scoring besides Marcus Carr or Serge Rice, who has just been an absolute beast.
Yeah.
Texas is the deepest team in the entire league when it comes to just like you can play this amount of players. Like they can legitimately play 9 to 10 players. And I think Baylor confidently says 7, really. You have your starting lineup, you have JTT and you have Langston Love, and then maybe Caleb Lohner, who looks like the statue of David, who is just really just a big body who can't necessarily score and is kind of okay defensively. Caleb Lohner to me is just like a pawn. I actually had this point about Flo Thamba just to get off Texas for a second. Flo Thamba is like, I play a lot of chess now because I'm trying to expand my brain.
You're trying to dunk a basketball.
Yes, a lot is happening this year. Flo Thamba is legitimately the human version of the pawn piece in chess. He does some things. He can, take some people out. He can do some things, but when it comes to if you have to win, you're not relying on the pawn. Like Flo Thamba, even scoring inside, like he'll get a rebound right next to the basket and somehow like miss and then go on the line for a free throw and only make one of them. But back to Texas. They're a really good team, really good defensively. But from what I've seen from Baylor and Kansas right now, they have something different with scoring right now. Baylor's obviously better than Kansas is scoring, but Kansas has Jalen Wilson and they have Grady Dick, and Texas has not that. So that's why I have more faith in Baylor and Kansas right now. And it just feels like when we go into the season, we're like, oh, this league is going to be different. And when it comes in the middle of the season, we're like, this league has so much parity. But now we're just going back to, okay, it's Kansas and Baylor, which is what has been dominating the league for the last 4 years now.
Baylor against West Virginia earlier this week, just a 3-point barrage, which is they're not unaccustomed to. 14 for 27, which is nuts. If they fall like that, the Bears are in a good spot. The defense, you're right, still not great. But if you're hitting shots at that rate, you're going to beat everybody in the league, home or away. That kind of consistency, will it stay? Maybe. I don't know if Everyday John's the reason that opened up, but you can make that case. I just, like when I look at Texas, I see they play Oklahoma at home. That's a win. Iowa State at home. That's a win. Baylor on the road, probably a loss. TCU on the road, a win if TCU's not healthy. And then Kansas at home that could very well be a win, even if they go 3-2 in that stretch. I think that's a very favorable stretch for Texas to take the league, in which case Baylor needs to go 4-1 down the stretch. Not going to be easy to do, especially when you're on the road at Kansas. And you face a Texas team at home where you could be playing for the conference title. And both Texas and KU they end the year with each other, so they could be playing for a conference title in Austin. I love this. Do you like this? You're a basketball guy. I like this conference. I'll give Oklahoma State a nod. There are 4 teams that are within striking distance. I like this.
No, I absolutely do. And obviously we don't know the outcome of the Kansas-Oklahoma State game, but if Oklahoma State wins that, you legitimately have to put them in the conversation of, oh my God, like they can actually win this. And it's like statistically there are a bunch of teams that can compete for it. But I think you and I know, like, we've seen elite level of basketball in this conference, you being a Baylor guy, I've just been behind the scenes working with the Big 12. Like, we know what elite basketball in this conference is, and there are like 3 teams right now. Oklahoma State can be the team that can surprise everybody. But no, I absolutely love watching this league as a whole. And you watch like even a team like Texas Tech. Like, I'm worried. I'm like honestly, Baylor fans should be thankful they crushed Texas Tech like earlier.
True. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a week. But like that's a team no one wants to face. Like
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's a team that wreaks havoc for the top of the league the last couple of games.
They
Like
may
Oklahoma,
accidentally make the tournament.
that's impossible. I think the only way they can do that if they win the Big 12 like tournament. If they win out, like that's just a miracle. Like I just see that like really, but like the net likes them, like they're in the top 60 for them. But yeah, this league is just incredible.
Yeah. Well said. You know what else is incredible?
Me?
You ever use FanDuel?
Yeah.
It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA. That's the National Basketball Association. It is FanDuel right now. No sweat first bet. One time only. FanDuel.com/locked on all caps. I make a bet. I'm not going to sweat for $3,000. 3,000. Andre, 2,000. This is 3,000. That's a no sweat first bet. You take the Clippers and you're like, okay, the Clippers are playing. And you say like, I think the Clippers are going to win this basketball game. I don't know anything about the Clippers. I'm just going to put $3,000 on them to win. Oh, if they didn't win, that's okay. You get $3,000 in bonus bets. It's $3,000 free play. So it's like 3,000 of your dollars. You can invest it. This is like crypto. This is like Bitcoin, but getting on the front end of Bitcoin. There's spreads, there's money lines, there's totals, there's rebounds, there's assists. You can do like a 2x3. So 2 3-pointers in the first 3 minutes of that Clippers game or the Kings game or whatever. I don't care. FanDuel.com/locked on. Bonus bets. All of that back. It's safe. It's secure. It's fun. It's easy to use. Just go download it. Go look at it. It's aesthetically pleasing. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA and of Locked On. It's FanDuel.com/locked on. Robbie, I am currently in the middle of the intramural basketball season. Dropped 8 points on a 2-for-4 shooting performance earlier this week against a pretty
I live
salty.
for intramural basketball. That was my favorite part of college. So I'm actually
great.
excited.
Oh, it's great. Well, Field of 64 has been released. 63 actually this year. Point of contention. Field of 63 this season. Yours truly plays tonight against the Korean Student Association. So we'll see how that goes. Salty team. They've got some scores. And if we win, we play our big rivals next round too. So again, 2-for-4. I'm starting to find my shot from outside. I feel good. How
do you describe your game? Like, what is your, like, I'm a 3-and-D guy. Like I live on the perimeter. I'll cut if I need to, but my thing is I play phenomenal defense. My lateral quickness is off the charts.
You know, I wish I was better at rebounding. It could be. It's an effort thing. The ball goes off the rim. Somebody else.
How tall are you again? Like 6'3"? Okay, so I'm 6'2". So we're both kind of similar, as in like we're tall, but we're not big. If you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
People will be like, "Oh, the tall guy. He'll go down low." No, that's not our role. We're not bruisers. We're not that.
No, yeah. I'm not getting a huge board. Defensively, put me in the middle. 2-3. Put me in the middle. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna take a charge. I'm gonna foul somebody. They're gonna know I'm there. Offensively, I'm stretching it out. Look, I'll take the shot. I'll dribble a little bit. I'll do it. That's what the Baylor Bears do, Robbie. It's what the Baylor.
Someone said to you, like, "Hey, you remind me a lot of Flo Thamba on the court." Are you taking that as an insult or a compliment?
I'm punching them. I've never punched anyone in my life. I've never punched anyone in my life, but that would do it. I don't know if you saw the video. I got really excited, man, that when they just Flo Thamba against West Virginia, like they called out his name and he ran on the floor and it's yes. First play of the game, he misses a layup. Legendary, man. Legendary. We give him a lot of flack on this show, but it's to build him up. It's to make him better. This team, they use audio clips from shows and podcasts. So I know I've been there, man. If I see these guys in a dark alleyway, that's it. It's been fun. They're going to eat. It's been fun. Robbie, why? We've talked about 3-point shooting and Baylor's obviously good at that, but their defense, Robbie, their defense is the worst in the Big 12. How do you expect this team to not win the league, but I can only imagine you would assume Baylor's national championship caliber if they're going to be the Big 12 champion. But why? If the defense is so bad, why?
I think this team has some good defensive players. JTT is obviously that guy.
Could you make that case for any team, by the way?
About what?
This team has some good defensive players?
Kansas has, I think, the best on-ball defensive players in the whole league. Texas has the best team defense, in my opinion, watching them, besides Oklahoma State. They're just really long and will disrupt you. Baylor is just a small team. Like, we obviously know, all the Baylor fans know you have so many guards and you have to rely on them. And like, you're going to just like lose some things on that. You have Jalen Bridges, which I think is just a really good player who knows his role, who is long, can disrupt things, play a lot of positions. Flo Thamba, like, where I don't want to make this the Flo Thamba hate episode, but just like,
That
he
would
is
be
just
like
there.
the 9th that we've done, by the way.
He stands there. He knows what to do. He's not you don't want him to switch onto other people, but I think when it comes to guarding the paint, he does the role. He is like a C+, B- defender. He does his job. This team defensively is definitely flawed, but I think what they make up for it is scoring. And if they can just get in key situations, a stop, couple of stops, like, they can outshoot everybody. And that's where I like feel the most faith with them. And because of Everyday John, like, watching him play, he's not all the way there yet. Like,
Mhm.
there's times on pick and rolls he kind of doesn't know where to go, but his effort is insane. His ability to just stay in front and disrupt a lot of people. He's become one of my favorite watches in the entire league as he like comes back. Um, and I had this point too. Josh Neighbors and I were talking Locked On Big 12. He brought this up, and I was actually kind of confused
Little
about it.
Rock's own Josh Neighbors?
Correct. So you have Davion Mitchell, you have Jared Butler, and you have Maceo Teague.
Yes.
Would you rather have that three, or would you rather have Adam Flagler, LJ Cryer, Keontae George? I think one is offensively more gifted. The other, I think, has defense and offense as well. Or is that a stupid question?
Oh. It's hard. I don't, because look, I think a lot of Baylor fans, a lot of listeners are going to hear that and they're going to write it off immediately. Say that's stupid.
Yeah, they say it's a championship group, but I think offensively, like, this trio is just, I almost swore it, just elite. Like,
Yeah.
they are incredible. Even if
I-
Keontae George doesn't have a good game, the other two just elevate.
The one difference, and this was a stat at the end of the West Virginia game. Baylor was, with 3 minutes to go, 2 for 16 in the paint. This is the worst team, maybe in college basketball, at scoring in the paint through their bigs. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Flo Thamba's not going to go up strong. He dunked it once. He's dunked it a couple times. I think every time he dunks it, he's just thinking in his head, ha, ha, ha. Take that, Locked On Baylor. I really do. I see it in his eyes. And you just don't get a lot of that. You don't get a lot of that. Jonathan's pretty similar to, he's shooting more threes now. He's stretching it out. And look, Davion Mitchell could take the ball and get to the basket, and you don't know how, like, where did he go? Same for Jared Butler. I don't, you get that out of Keontae, but I mean, Flagler and Cryer both, they'll give you a little bank shot. They'll get it 12 feet out and have, they'll find a way to hit that one, but getting to the basket, shot creation, it's different. It's tough to compare these two. It's good. It's not a bad question, Rob Dog.
Yeah. I think defensively, one is definitely so much better, but like, Keontae George, for me, like, you guys better appreciate him, and I think you guys do. And like, there's some games he is not necessarily all the way there, but for what he's doing in a league that is so damn old, like, this league, like, there are no good freshmen in this league besides Grady Dick. Like, there's a reason why. Who? Okay. Hello, you. Your hands raised.
Yes. No, you're right. I want to affirm your point, Mr. Triano. Like, when I think Baylor, I think old. I look at Baylor, I'm like, oh, LJ Cryer, national championship team. Flo Thamba started on that team. Adam Flagler played on that team. And then Jalen Bridges is old. Caleb Lohner's played a couple years of basketball. Like, I think old team. Baylor's the second youngest team in the Big 12. It doesn't really make any sense to me. Like, this is a team that is starting 4 guys that have 3 years or more of college basketball experience, and they're an old team. And they're still the second youngest in the Big 12. Like, this league is full of guys that aren't going to be huge NBA prospects. They're just really damn good college basketball players, a la like a Luka Garza, who does play in the NBA now, by the way.
Yeah, he plays for Timberwolves. But that's it. Like, you nailed it there, because of the transfer portal, so many coaches can get a player who played 3 or 4 years at another school and bring them in. Like, I look at Marquise Noel. Like, he played at a different school. Now he's on his 5th season. You have Keontae Johnson for Kansas State, who played at Florida, had his heart thing. And then you even look at Oklahoma State. You have like Caleb Asbury. You have John Michael Wright. Like,
Caleb
guys,
Boone's been there since I was born.
Yeah, and this league is just so old, and with the COVID eligibility, like, everybody is just old in this league, and that's why I wish Keontae George could be here for another year.
Mhm.
It's not gonna happen just because
No.
he's that talented, but, like, people need to appreciate what he's doing in this league because he's going up against grown men and kind of, like, at points, being the best player on the floor, and
Yeah.
that's just a sign of an incredible talent right now.
Got to take over card. That's what I like. What I do like about this team, they are streaky. They are inconsistent. That's a flaw. So come March, they could be bouncing the round of 32 because they have a bad shooting performance. But every game it rotates. One night it's Langston Love. He drops 25. The next night it's Keontae who drops 25. Then it's LJ, and then it's Adam. You don't see a lot of nights where they all have 13 to 15. That doesn't really happen, but somebody takes over, and when they have the hot hand, LJ made 8 threes against West Virginia, which is really good. Robbie, I want to pivot now. Quite literally, I'm just pivot my chair. Can you go a full 360 there? Or no? Yeah, you can. That was impressive. You didn't even get tangled up in your cord. That was impressive. Robbie, one of the big they say, I'm going to peel back the curtain a little bit at our company. They say play the hits, Also just stray wire sitting out of the wall right here. They say play the hits. It's such a college room. And one of the hits right now is conference expansion, realignment, the Pac-12, namely. But I've been hearing some stuff, and I know you're well connected in the Big 12. I've been hearing Tulane. I've been hearing other things about Tulane. What's going on, man? Are we gonna add more people?
Yeah, from what it looks like, the Pac-12 is in a lot of trouble. I'm just looking at a
that
blank
statement.
screen. I'm looking at a blank screen right now because we pivot, so all the people at home listening this on the podcast is like, "What is he doing?" I'm just looking at a screen, not you. It's very jarring. The Pac-12 is in a whole lot of trouble just because they're not gonna get a good TV deal whatsoever, and if you're a school like Oregon or Washington or even a school like Colorado, Arizona State, and you still want to be a national player in sports and athletics, you're going to look at the Big Ten, you're gonna look at the SEC, look at the Big 12, who actually has a pretty solid deal for what the Big 12 is and having no blue bloods.
Yeah.
And you're going to look at your media deal and be like, we're going to be so far behind. And we can't just keep on calling our donors to be like, hey, can you fund us or like make sure we're competing at the highest level? There's going to be a school being like, you can't financially hold us to this while everybody else is thriving. And that's where the Big 12 is like the safe haven because geography wise, it would make no sense if any school joined the SEC. It would make some sense if some schools joined the Big Ten, but the Big Ten has openly said they do not want to expand to new schools because they don't want to keep splitting up that pie. And then you have the Big 12 who has 12 teams after OU and Texas, and they can be like, okay, well, come to us. Geography wise, we're right next to you. So it's not too far off compared to everybody else. And also, like, you can be one of the premier programs in this conference. And that's where I think the Big 12 has so much leverage. Who should we be adding? I think it's Pac-12 schools. I think you get Colorado, you get Arizona, you get Arizona State. And if you can get Oregon or Washington, sure. I do not see that happening just because, like, they should just go to the Big Ten just because it makes more sense brand-wise. If we get them, home run higher. But, like, would you get an SMU, a Boise State, a Tulane? I think Brett Yormark's going to shoot higher. Like, absolutely. I don't see him just saying, oh, we're going to get these other scraps or not scraps. That's kind of rude to them, but just like, we're just going to keep on getting group of 5 schools and making them power 5. I think he wants to go big game hunting. I think he's going to hunt George Kliavkov, not literally shoot him, but shoot the conference figuratively.
So Cincinnati, BYU, UCF, and Houston, what do they all have in common?
They're schools.
Yes. Power 5 schools to be exact. And I would consider them to be pretty much the top 4 brands of the teams that were left over that weren't in Power 5 conferences. Like those are 4 really solid teams. So when you say the scraps about SMU, Memphis, Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State, I think you're onto something. Like look, you can keep taking teams like that, but what true value are they going to add to the Big 12 when teams like Oregon and Washington exist? To hone in on the Pac-12 for a little bit. Number one, Fubo TV, not going to do it. Like, this is like the whole, like, we're Amazon TV, not going to do it. This Pac-12 at dark didn't work. This is bad. They are sinking. Point two. This is a question for you, Robbie. What do you think of the the Pac-12's strategic use of the word consummate?
Terrible. If you haven't seen that release, they basically said we're gonna like a media deal may come out soon, but basically saying like everybody, we're blinking twice. We are in a lot of trouble. Please help us a whole lot. Yeah, it's
Please don't be scared. We will be consummating a deal soon. You'll be what?
yeah. What are you doing? Huh?
It was a unique press release for sure. Oregon State too. They the Beavers are in that conference.
Yeah. Yeah, when I say like scraps for the other schools, like the Big 12 and like Bob Bowles people get so much crap for the OU Texas thing, as he should, but like what else was he gonna do? Like he
Yeah.
should have either expanded more early on or just like tried more to make them happy. But like what happened? But what he did that, like, was genius was getting those 4 schools, because you can't be like, "Oh, they got Cincinnati." It's like, no, Cincinnati was in the college football playoff. Oh, they got BYU. BYU is one of the biggest brands out of anybody in this whole country just because they have an entire religion on their side and also historically known. They got UCF. UCF is in Florida and also just been really good the last decade.
Recent national champions.
And, they got Houston. Houston, first of all, best basketball program maybe in the country right now when it comes on what's happening. And also football-wise, like, it's in Texas, and everybody knows of that school. So when I say scraps, it's just like, oh, the other ones. Like, when I saw the Pac-12 was getting SMU, I legitimately laughed. Like, "Ha, ha, ha, nobody cares." Like, nobody is going to care and be like, "Oh, dude, SMU's on. I gotta watch that." Like, I hope when people see Cincinnati, they're like, "Oh, I gotta watch that," because they're really good. And that's where, like, I think the Pac-12 is screwed, and if they somehow manage it and they get a streaming deal with the Fubus or the whatever majiggies or the free
Flow
TV,
Sports.
they are not growing their brand, and that is what is gonna be the death of them. Because if everyone has to go instead of getting cable and go through all these hoops to go watch it, they're just gonna be like, it's not
Yeah.
worth it." You're gonna get your loyal fans to care, but are you going to get, let's say, I watched the game at a bar. Like, is the bar going to then turn off the cable, get a smart TV, go to that, get in the stick so they know that's gonna be too much work. They're just not gonna do it. So if they do a streaming only deal, that's gonna be the death of the Pac-12. And I don't think any of the schools are down for that.
It's 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. on a Friday, actually. So it's now Saturday. Bartender. Hey, you got that Washington State Memphis game? It's on Flow Sports. Can we get that on the TV? Just SVP.
I love how that's the voice of the Pac-12 fan.
They're not even Pac-12. This is just this guy's so drunk in a bar somewhere in the Northeast. Hey.
Or when someone comes home from the bar and they're really drunk and now they have to turn on the TV and go to the right channel, they're just going to be drunk and confused. And they're just not going to know what to do whatsoever.
No idea. Robbie, there's so many things I want to ask you because I want to pick your brain about the schedule because Texas plays at Houston, and then they immediately said, all right, fine, we'll leave. People came out and they're like, oh, why didn't the Big 12 bone Texas or Oklahoma more? Oklahoma only has 6 home games, and Texas plays at Houston. That's just humiliating. So that's my opinion. I'm not going to give you room for yours. But Texas and Oklahoma are leaving $100 million. You're not going to see that money. I'm not going to see that money. So
none of us will.
Be very clear there. Like, the money doesn't matter to me, but also it's kind of cool that like they're leaving early and they have to pay $80 million.
Yeah. Yeah, all the fans who were like, yeah, our school's getting money. It's like, you see none of that ever.
It's not going to help
and
you.
For the schools that like Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC, like, good luck. Like, I think basketball-wise, they're going to be thankful. Like, oh, we actually get to compete for stuff. I know Texas is doing really well now. And, like, yeah, maybe we'll miss them, but also we're getting in Houston and maybe getting in Gonzaga and maybe expanding. And if we get Arizona, we're even better. So basketball-wise, this conference is going to be just fine. Football-wise, yeah, we're going to miss them. But they haven't been very good the last couple of years. Oklahoma, we can't say anything about Oklahoma. Like, they've just been dogging everybody for years. But for Texas, yeah, you guys are cowards. Like, good luck.
What have you done for me lately? Texas lost to Washington in that bowl game, and Oklahoma went under 500. So see ya, and thanks for the money on your way out too. Robbie, you already talked about that Midwest podcast, the Sirius XM stuff, man. People want to go listen to that. If Don Watson wants to go listen to that, where can she go?
You can go to SiriusXM, get a subscription, steal your mom's credit card, or like go in the car. Channel 375. I work on Big 12 today. It's from 2 to 5 Central with Gabe Eichert, Chris Plank, Ian Fitzsimmons. A lot of fun shows, all the best topics. If you were to replay tomorrow or yesterday's show, LJ Cryer is on the show.
I know
So
him.
he had a big game. We've had Adam Flagler on. We have all of your favorite players, coaches, whatever on. It's a lot of fun if you're done with that and you're done with Locked On Baylor or Locked On Big 12 or whatever you're listening to. Go to the Midwest Madness podcast, all things basketball, and I touch on the entire league.
My favorite coach is Eddie Sutton. You can have him on? Yeah. Don't make empty promises you can't keep.
He's really dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not as bad as extra tidbit. What's his name? Boone Pickens.
Yeah, T-Boone.
On air, Ian Fitzsimmons, who people may know, he does a lot of college football stuff. He was like, well, Oklahoma State, like at least they got Boone Pickens to give out all those NIL deals. And it's like, hey, buddy, it's really dead. So
that is tough.
Yeah, we had on air be like, hey, that guy is not only dead, but been dead for years. So.
T-Boone's not around anymore. Not around. T-Boone Pickens. I'm not T-Boone Pickens, and neither is Robbie Triano, thankfully, because we're still alive. I'm Drake Toll from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. That's Robbie Triano from SiriusXM. This has been Locked On Baylor, always will be. Thank you for making it your first listen every single day. Come back tomorrow. We're going to talk about sports. I haven't even planned the show yet. Hope you had a good Valentine's Day. It has been Locked On Baylor.